we're getting into week number 5 of the Pennsylvania crossbow season. You can tell November is upon us because it's getting colder, it's getting damper, the weather is turning bad, and the leaves are all off the trees. Now that could be miserable for a lot of people, but for me that means the rut is fast approaching. Death by Bunjie is no longer brought to you by the Eric Freen Sniper Diaper. Now, early in the crossbow season, I'm hunting on the perimeter of the woods. I really don't go that deep into the woods. I hunt the food plots that I put in around the outside, around the edges of the woods, and I try to stay out of the deep part of the woods because I don't want to spook those deer. I don't want to move them off the property. We've got a 6-week season here in Pennsylvania, and as we get later into that season though, around week 4, I'm ready to start moving into the woods. I start hunting the tree stands, and now, in week 5, I'm ready to start working with a decoy. Okay, well today is November 6th. I'm pretty excited because today the rut is supposedly kicking into full gear. I haven't seen any evidence of that because I still haven't seen a buck. I got lots of does, so I can't help but think I'm going to see a buck or two. It's got to happen. I've been saying that all along though. I just set up my decoy out here as the crossbow season progresses, as the rut gets going. I think it's for those bucks that aren't familiar with this area and don't have travel patterns. I can't pattern them because I don't have pictures of them. I don't know where they're going. So I set up in a good ambush spot. Here it's in a well pad blind. I'm just going to try that this evening. And I set up the decoy. I got old Buckley set up out there. It looks like he's ready to fight, so I think if somebody's interested in coming in here, they can come in and get a good taste. Give them a challenge. But I'm going to grunt a little bit. I was kind of noisy when I set up, of course, because those decoys are loud. So I'm going to let it settle down for half an hour, and then I'll start grunting intermittently, do a little bit of grunting, some snort wheezing, and some doe bleats and all that good stuff, and just see what happens. This is the well pad, the food plot, by the way, down by the well pad. Now, I haven't hunted it real heavy because I've got that one-man tree stand across there. I'm a big guy. I don't sit in a one-man tree stand real well to begin with, but that one's pinched right in there in that scrubby old maple. The one time that I sat in that stand, I didn't see deer here. It was that yearling doe and her 2 fawns, and she spotted me right off the bat. And you can check out my other videos for that. I did a video on just that one. So what I did, I got to thank my daughter Genevieve for helping me out here. I try to get her involved in hunting. She doesn't like to sit still for hours on end. Totally understand that at her age, especially. She goes out with me once, maybe twice a year. But I try to keep her active in hunting other ways by showing her the trail camera pictures. And recently I had her go around with me and check the trail camera cards. We went for a big old trip in the Ranger. And then what we ended up doing was pulling this blind out and putting this blind up over this food plot. So she helped me pick out the spot. So if I get a deer here, she's going to share in the credit. And I think she'll appreciate that. But that's a good way to get your kids involved. Even if they're not going to go hunting with you, at least get them involved in the thought process and the overall process. Well, I am going to shut up and get to hunting. And pretty soon here, I'm going to start grunting and doing putting on a little show. And hopefully a big old buck will come in. We'll see. Keep your fingers crossed. Now eventually we did see some deer in that food plot. Sure enough, they're down on the bottom end, entering the food plot, coming in and out of the woods, and I'm just hoping that somebody will make their way up across that food plot up close to where the blind is. Those does hung out there for a while, and then as I've got the camera in my hands, I'm trying to get pictures of them, and sure enough, I see another deer coming in behind them, and it's a buck. It's the first buck I have seen during the entire crossbow season. Oh yeah, buck time. I think that buck was working a little bit of a scrape down on the bottom end of that food plot. Then he harassed the does a little bit. Sure enough, all my grunting and noise that I was making up there eventually caught his ear or caught his eye. He saw that decoy and came up across the food plot to check it out. Oh, he's coming. Now, I know I've gone all season here complaining that I haven't even seen a buck. And then I finally get a buck like that. Broadside, 20 yards, perfect shot. And I don't take the shot, I pass. At least at this point in the season, before I pull the trigger, I want to see what is out there. In a couple of years, he'll be a monster, and maybe I'll get a shot at him then if he survives that long. But in the meantime, why not shoot a doe? Now that looked like a really good shot to me. As far as I'm concerned, that's exactly what I was aiming for. That's a perfect shot. She leaves the food plot immediately, runs off. I get out as it's just getting dark. I pack up all my gear. And by the time I make it to my arrow, it's pretty much dark. I look at the arrow looks real good, got good blood on the arrow. Broadhead was fully opened, didn't have any trouble finding it with a luminoc. Very encouraged by the blood trail. It was easy to find some blood on the ground just as I entered the woods. The leaves were covered with blood, real thick, real heavy. The only problem is it rained on and off all day, and by the time it got dark, it started to rain a little bit on and off again. So the rain's coming down, and sure enough, that really does affect your blood trail. I followed that trail for probably 60, 70 yards with no problem, and then we ran into a stopping point. I started to get a little worried because I couldn't find any more blood. So I went back to the house, made a phone call, had a friend come over with his flashlights, and he helped me track that deer a little bit further. Sure enough, we only went another 20 yards, and we found her no problem. She had tried to cross the creek into the swamp and didn't quite make it across the creek. We were able to pull her up out of there with no problem whatsoever. That's what I call some death by Bunjie.
Dip your fanny in the Susquehanna or Monongahela, Allegheny, Ohio. Say hi to Bill and Punxsutawney. Centralia's on fire from the cold.
So this story ended great. Now I've learned a couple of things. Number one is shooting something in the rain. It's a good thing that I had a good shot on her, because without having that good shot, we probably would have had a lot of trouble finding her. The other thing that I learned is that you can, in fact, shoot a deer next to a well pad. That was pretty neat. This is the first year I've had anything there. And not only did I shoot a doe there, but I also saw a whole bunch of deer there on a couple of occasions, and also was able to see my first buck of the season there. So this is going to be a pretty productive spot. I'm pretty excited about it going forward.
The second state is number one in my book.
What are you looking at?